Well, it's been a reaction to, well, if I can call it, the biggest shift from what appears to be a deadlock of the sort between the minority and the government side here in the majority side. At least yesterday, the finance minister at that press briefing, it indicates that they had written to the Speaker of Parliament on the modifications or the concessions that the minority was demanding in that 5 points that they had asked the Minister of Finance to input into the budget. The minority today demanded for the evidence of it. It was laid and then it was read out to them as demanded by Haruna Idris. Mind you, he had gone ahead to state a position which they later came back to state that had not shifted from their total rejection of the budget because of the e-levy that was inclusive in it. But then when it was read out to him, this was his reaction to the concessions or the modifications as officially before the House now.
See, it's important that you make that point about that reaction to the e-transactions levy following what the finance minister said yesterday. But there's been a lot of controversy about the actions of the first deputy speaker with respect to this particular development there. But let's take a look at what the minority has been talking about with respect to their stance on the budget.
Speaker, we are guided by the public good, and we think that monies recoverable from the Auditor General report can as well compensate for the imposition of an e-levy. So, Mr. Speaker, we on this side, we are unable to support government in its quest to impose an e-levy at 1.75% on Momo and associated transactions, including remittances and bank transactions. Therefore, we stand opposed, and at every level that e-levy is introduced, we will stand united to oppose it because it will inflict hardships on the core poor of the Ghanaian people. We are of the view that the whole essence of democracy is not to shut the door, but to open it up for continuous engagement. Mr. Speaker, having said this, I would want to assure our colleagues on the other side that we may be emotional at times, we may disagree and be at each other's throats at times, but in the final analysis, we are ready to work together for the sake of Mother Ghana.
Well, so that's that's Alexander Penyomarkin there, as you indicated there. But there had been a lot of controversy about the actions of the first deputy speaker, Komla Jose Wosu, last week. Tell us, what was his demeanor today and the position on issues that were discussed on the floor of Parliament?
Well, I can tell you that the position that he holds, according to him, has not shifted or he's not moved away from it. In fact, when the votes and the proceedings of the House was being corrected today, which is a normal practice of the House, he sought to get to the table office or the clerks to correct that part of the votes and the proceedings that indicated that on the 1st of December, he, Jose Wosu, the first deputy speaker of Parliament, attempted to rule, but because of an uproar, he was unable to rule. In fact, he stated a point very clearly that yes, indeed, he had ruled, but then his position was challenged by the minority leader Haruna Idrisu, and this ensued between them.
As the Honorable Osei Mensah made reference to the Constitution and standing orders, these have been recognized in the votes and proceedings. What is good for the goose must be good for the gander. I want this because, Mr. Speaker, you are yourself a lawyer, Authoritatively, parliamentary debates have become a guide to interpretation beyond the British ruling in pepper and hat. And therefore we know that reference to the Constitution and reference to our standing order must at all times be respected. So I have a difficulty with the directive that you are giving the table, because as far as we are concerned, I moved the motion. The motion was seconded by the Honorable Mama Yarga. When the debate, as recorded, the debate concluded.
Whether the minority leader thinks that I was not entitled to rule is another matter. But what I'm saying here is that I ruled.
Let me serve you notice, Mr. Speaker, that under Order 93.5, I will file a motion to question your conduct as Speaker or as member for Bekwai, wherever it's appropriate, because this directive you are given does not, and we ourselves will call the recording for scrutiny, and we'll look at it closely, because as far as we know, Mr. Speaker, you attempted to rule, and there was an uproar, and there was a suspension, and subsequently an adjournment. That is all we know. So, Mr. Speaker, I intend to invoke Order 93.5 that I'll serve you, I'll submit your conduct, because you cannot operate with these standing orders at your whims and caprices. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, that's Haruna Idrisu there. So, Kamala, there's no indication that consensus is going to be reached anytime soon between these two sides.
No, absolutely not. And in that attempt, whilst when the issue of consensus was even raised by the deputy majority leader Alexander Penyo Marquez, it had a reaction from the minority that indicated that they were not ready for consensus because of the happenings. But I can tell you on authority that yes, indeed, the minority has filed that substantive motion. A copy of it we have secured now. That is before the Speaker of the House, and per the rules of the House, this must mature for at least 48 hours. So this is what there is motion, that this Honorable House sets aside the purported ruling of the first Deputy Speaker, Mr. Joseph Osei-Owusu, MP, delivered on Wednesday, 1st December 2021, against the motion moved by the Honorable Minority Leader, Mr. Haruna Idrisu, and seconded by the Honorable Member for Boku Central, Mr. Mahama Ayariga, as captured on page 9 of the votes and proceedings of Wednesday, 1st December 2020, on grounds that it contravenes the rules, conventions, and practices of the House and was captured by bias. Respectfully submitted, Haruna Idrisu, Minority Leader, on the 7th of December. This clearly shows the divisions are just or are such that the minority does not intend to lift things or lift things right, and then just move on, even though the majority side appears to be a bit magnanimous in extending some olive branch. The minority feels that they have been the first Deputy Speaker has been biased towards them, and they are challenging the ruling of him.